when I left him, because I had to go to a conference for my job, and I really didn't want to go. That was the hardest thing. I didn't want to go, and it was when I was at the airport leaving. The plane was late by 2 hours. It was like something was telling me not to go, you know?
That premonition.
Yeah, and I kept on saying, man, I better stay here. But then, the old two things on your shoulder, One saying, screw it, just go. Who cares about your job? And the other one says, well, you know what? You just got this job. This is mandatory. You got to go to keep your job. So I thought, well, the best place to be with his brother, so he's not alone. So I told Alan to go to his brother's house. And when I landed in my destination where the conference was at, he was going to his brother's house. So I thought it was okay. Well, I guess he got there. They were watching TV. He took a shower. They ate. That was like at 10 o'clock in the evening on May the 9th. And then I guess in between times there, he went in the bathroom. I guess he started doing some drugs. Well, this new drug he had started making him hallucinate. And he started thinking, that there was people out there to get him. It was like he was foreseeing his own death.
Right.
He kept saying, the cops are coming, the cops are coming, And, get down. So when his brother called for help, it was to get help for him, for Alan.
And when you say call, you mean call 911?
He called 911,
Right.
And I was so tired when I left because I stayed up the night before with Alan, and I was so tired that, I didn't bother to call that night, and I never thought to tell Eric, no matter what, don't you call the cops,
Right.
no matter what. Well, I didn't tell him that. And Eric, his brother, he thought he was doing the right thing, I mean, it's the only thing he who would have imagined that something like that would have happened. Well, when he has his girlfriend call, the 911 dispatcher just turns everything into a super, situation, She's telling the 911 lady that, his brother's acting weird, he won't let us move, because he was afraid that someone was going to get them, so he told him, stay down, And anyway, when the dispatch tells the cops, all of a sudden it turns into a hostage situation. So they think it's a hostage situation now. And so
And it is his brother and his brother's
his brother and
girlfriend.
his girlfriend and him,
And him.
they were always together, Wasn't anything new. So anyway, I guess, and all this time, and this was like after midnight. So I was already in Vegas asleep, I was so tired. And anyway, by 3, 4 in the morning, he was dead. Because this cop that shouldn't have been on the scene came from all the way across town, I heard. This cop was Sean Wallace. He was going home at the end of his shift. He was over, on the west side of town. And he hears the call. He decides he's going to go and be the hero. So he goes all the way across town, like 15 miles, over to where it happened was on Madison Street, which is on the northeast, the outskirts of the Northeast Heights in Albuquerque. And he shows up there, and because he's canine, he thought he could take over the whole scene. He didn't talk to a commander. He didn't get any authority to do so. He just says, here I am, and gets his gun, takes another officer with him, and they go behind the car from across the street. The other cops were there for like an hour watching him just go back and forth in the house, smoking a cigarette, talking to himself outside. They were just watching him.
So
they were waiting for the crisis. They had called the crisis intervention team. They were waiting for them to come. Well, instead of the crisis intervention team comes, Sean Wallace comes and decides he's it. He's the jury. He's the executioner. He's everything. And he gets behind the car. Alan walks into the house like he had before, and he shoots him. He shoots him through a screen door. An iron screen door was there.
Through the screen door.
Alan was closing the screen door to stay inside the house.
Right.
Well, Wallace didn't let him.
Now,
There was a hole in the screen door.
Mhm.
They took it for evidence. So he shot through the screen door. It was one of those metal iron doors where all you could see is a silhouette.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he's seen everything. Oh, he had a gun. He was he moved in a violent movement towards the hostages. He called them. Anyway, it was all a lie.